Bill has for years been the chief spokesman for climate change and sustainability in the state of Oregon. He was the first, I might be robbing his speech, but he was one of the first trainees by Al Gore, and he's given what now, almost 400 and something lectures on climate change throughout the state. So we're very pleased to have from Bandon, Oregon, Portland's own Secretary Bill Bradbury.
Thank you very much. It's a real pleasure to be here, and I want to recognize the remarkable leadership that this campus and Toby have provided on making sure that people understand what's going on with the climate, because that's a really critical issue. I wanted to just talk briefly about the whole situation with climate change and where we find ourselves, because clearly we're having incredible events like Hurricane Sandy, late October of 2012, incredible events like, I mean, this was a super hurricane, and we've had lots of hurricanes, and clearly the fact that the climate is changing and it's getting warmer and more water's getting absorbed, evaporating from the ocean into the atmosphere is leading to these incredible superstorms like Hurricane Sandy that just battered the East Coast, and really a lot of people suffered because of that hurricane. Recently, we had a typhoon, Typhoon Haiyan, which hit the Philippines incredibly hard. And we've had typhoons for a long time. But the fact is, this was really what would be described as a supercharged typhoon because of the changes we're having in the climate. So all of us are reeling under the impact of these kind of events. And the reality is that most people, not everybody, but most people now accept that the climate is changing and it is having some real direct relationship to the extreme weather events we're seeing around the country. And I think all of us know that we need to make changes, in this country and this world need to make changes in order to deal with the changes in the climate. We can't just bury our heads in the sand. It's not going to cut it to just pretend things aren't changing. Clearly we have to change, and we all know that we really have a whole lot of solutions at hand to solve this problem with too much carbon in the atmosphere. Start with how we produce our energy. I think it's important to remember that in the United States of America, 75% of the electricity is produced by coal. I think it's really important to remember that. That's not true in the Northwest. We produce 60% of our energy from hydroelectric. The salmon have a problem with that, but we produce 60% of our energy with hydroelectric, and we still produce 40% of our energy from fossil fuels, coal and natural gas and the like. We're seeing an incredible development of other technologies like wind technology. This is really the world's largest wind turbine that was installed in 2012 in Denmark, provides energy for, I'm going to say, over 10,000 homes. Then there's this array of wind farms out in the English Channel, produce energy for 470,000 homes. Then you've got those kind of things going on in Turkey, and you have India developing wind energy. They're basically working to quadruple their renewable energy development. by 2022. China is fascinating because they are the world leader in wind energy. They are also, because of their great need to develop their economy in a significant manner, they're also the largest burner of really dirty, soft coal in the world. So on one hand, they're a huge developer of renewable energy resources like wind, and on the other hand, they're an incredible greenhouse gas polluter because their economy demands so much energy. And I think people here in this state are aware of this incredible development that's taken place in the last 15 years in the Columbia Gorge and eastern Oregon with wind development. And it's really, it's pretty remarkable, and it's a great source, of energy. And there's another exciting thing going on, which is how do we get more energy from the sun? And this is a site in the Mojave Desert in California where you have all these solar reflectors, mirrors, that are all eventually going to be aimed at that black tower. And that facility, it's called Ivanpah, will in fact, because it'll boil water in the black tower, that boiling water then produces electricity, it'll produce energy for 140,000 homes in America. And it'll do it all from the sun. So it's an incredible operation. And I love it that the Vatican is, in fact, basically they've done a whole series of installations to make sure that they are, in fact, getting their energy from the sun and the wind and no longer on the coal grid, so to speak. And the solar industry in this state is a big deal. In March of 2007, a large solar company called SolarWorld, located here in Oregon, and they moved into an old high-tech plant in Hillsboro, and they employ somewhere in the range of 1,200 to 1,400 people at very good family wage jobs, producing solar panels and other kinds of solar devices. So the solar industry, that then spawns, having that major employer, SolarWorld there, then spawns all these spin-off firms that have located out in the Hillsboro area as well. So it's a great opportunity for all of us. Can you make it? There it goes, it went. So another opportunity for us in Oregon particularly comes from geothermal resources, hot water in the earth. And you can see from this map that Oregon is really in one of the Earth's hot zones that run around the Pacific Rim, and there are a couple others. But those are places where you're likely to get geothermal resources and put them to work. Now, the real beauty of geothermal, obviously, is that you can produce energy from geothermal, like they're doing in the background here, but you can also get a really nice warm soak. So it's kind of a double-edged energy resource that really serves both energy needs and people's needs. Now, the thing that excites me, the thing that makes me feel like we might actually be able to do this, is that we have seen the investment in renewable energy actually exceed the investments in fossil energy for the first time in this country in 2010. It was $157 billion invested in fossil fuel energy in 2010 and $187 billion invested in renewable energy. That gives you some real hope that we may in fact be able to get where we need to go. Another thing that I really think we need to be thinking about very, very seriously is putting a price on carbon. the fact is, we don't do that now. And the fact is, if you use price as a signal, you can get people to move in a different direction. And really, when we talk about putting a price on carbon, what we're really talking about is enacting a carbon tax. And obviously, carbon dioxide is the largest greenhouse gas that's going into our atmosphere. And it's real clear that through a carbon tax, you can really reduce the amount of carbon entering the atmosphere. And that's the goal, is to drive a meaningful reduction in the pollution of our atmosphere with carbon dioxide. And it also serves the purpose of generating revenue, which can be refunded to people who are paying it. It can be used to support education. It can be used to support human resources, all those things. But it also drives a very sound policy, which is let's find a way to reduce carbon pollution. And sometimes I'm always reminded that when we talk about things like putting a price on carbon, it seems pretty daunting, especially given the incredible influence of the fossil fuel industry. I'm always reminded of Nelson Mandela's quote, it always seems impossible until it's done. And I think that's the spirit we have to have as we move forward to see that we move into this new era. I want to emphasize to everybody that obviously this is a huge global problem. There are national policies that are required, but there are also individual actions that each and every one of us must take. This is an older home here in Portland, and the areas that are red or bright yellow are the areas that are losing heat, i.e. losing energy. And we really need to do everything we can to make sure that our homes are as energy efficient as possible. And we need to make sure that we insulate our ceilings and all to make sure that the heat stays in the house. And there are a whole series of things that we can do to save energy. And I work with the Northwest Power and Conservation Council, and they've identified some very specific things that we can do to really save energy. The first one is TVs, using energy efficient TVs instead of energy hogs. Obviously, an old one that we're getting better at is water heating. Lighting is an incredible one. As we move into, as Mr. Armstrong was talking about in terms of LED street lights, that gives us an incredible opportunity to produce a lot of power with a lot less energy. And then things like efficient shower heads are obviously part of it. Very exciting opportunity to save energy and not burn so many fossil fuels relates to electric vehicles, whether it be the Nissan Leaf or the new General Motors Volt. These are vehicles that are electric powered, not fossil fuel powered, and obviously can help us reduce our fossil fuel usage. I really want, this to me is a very interesting little slide, in that if you look at the incandescent bulb when Thomas Edison developed it, it was 1.4 lumens per watt. A lumen is a measure of how much light energy. 1.4 lumens per watt in Edison's day, and then you have the LED now that has 100 lumens per watt. So there's just this incredible opportunity to save energy and still get the light that we need. And the Power Council that I work for has really identified some real clear sources of energy efficiency that are really easy to pursue, whether it be home heating and cooling, or home water heating, or more efficient televisions, home consumer electronics, home lighting. All those are sources of real energy efficiency as we move forward. And the thing I would emphasize is that moving in this more efficient direction is good for the economy, because all of these companies that produce renewable energy or produce higher levels of energy efficiency are all part of the economy in Oregon and are all providing jobs to people that work here. And I just want to emphasize that this is a significant new jobs opportunity. Climate Solutions estimates by 2028, we will have new jobs in solar, wind, green building, bioenergy, with a total of 62,000 new jobs related to getting those kind of things going. So the real question is, can we do it? And Rosie the Riveter certainly made it clear that we can do it. And Martin Luther King, speaking about civil rights, clearly inspired the nation to move in a much more sound direction in terms of civil rights. And John F. Kennedy said, we're going to put a person on the moon in 10 years, and we did it in 9. So there's been this incredible we can do it attitude here in this country, and it is a problem we really can confront and take on. This is a beautiful, wonderful planet that we have, and I think we all know that we share this planet. And it's one that it's really, the fact is it's the only planet we'll ever have or hold or touch for our children and for their children. And this is my grandchild. This is Pippin, and this is my granddaughter, Cleo. And both Pippin and Cleo would really appreciate it if all of us would work together to keep this planet a wonderful, livable place that all of us can enjoy for our lives and for their lives.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Poppy, can we keep this planet safe for his grandchildren?
We can! Yes, we can!
Can Bill go on and be the leader in the state of Oregon in climate change education and give 500 presentations?
Yes,
he can. Well, thank you, Bill, for your wonderful presentation.
Okay.
And just keep seated there. We want to hear from our representative in Congress on a national perspective.
Great.
Representative Earl Blumenauer was not able to visit with us today, but he does have a message for us in this presentation. So let's listen to Representative Earl Blumenauer in his short video presentation.
Thank you for inviting me to join you today. I'm sorry that the congressional schedule does not allow me to attend your Earth Day conference in person, but I appreciate being able to share a few minutes of my thoughts with you. The conversations that you will have today and the work that lies ahead have never been more important. The evidence of climate change is all around us. Last year, the effects appeared all around the planet. From Cairo's first snowfall in more than a century, to Russia's warmest December, and the wildest U.S. tornado ever recorded, 2013 was marked by unusual weather extremes worldwide. Every continent, including Antarctica, saw weather records of some sort. Overall, 2013 was tied with 2007 as the 6th warmest year since global records began in 1850. 13 of the 14 warmest years ever recorded have been in this century. Carbon dioxide levels have risen to amounts never seen in human history, reaching atmospheric concentrations of 400 parts per million. Climatologists are slow to put 100% of the blame for these events on climate change, obviously. Yet many of last year's extreme weather events were consistent with what scientists expected as a result of human-induced global warming. And the same scientists are warning that we are not prepared for what lies ahead, not only in terms of the cost to human life, but the environment we will incur as a result of more frequent and intense weather events, but increases in global food prices, decreases in the availability of water, increases in health problems, and decreases in economic growth and poverty reduction. Despite the challenges, I see hope for the future. We can and we must take action to limit carbon releases into the atmosphere. Now, one of the best ways to do that is put a price on carbon. Last year, my colleagues in Congress and I unveiled a proposal for a carbon tax, which I have long supported. Recently, 24 of the nation's largest corporations, including 5 major oil companies, said they're planning their future growth on the expectation that there will be a price on carbon. Renewable energy development, conservation and investments in the smart grid to make our energy infrastructure more efficient are already happening, and happening in exciting ways. At the end of 2012, the United States had installed over 60,000 megawatts of wind energy. Think of it. That's enough to power the equivalent of 15 million homes with renewable power. And in the process, over 80,000 jobs have been created as a result. In Congress, I'm leading the effort to extend the production tax credit for renewable energy and repeal unnecessary subsidies for oil and gas. These are mature, very profitable industries which need no further help from the federal government. We must also look at how we prepare and mitigate for the effects of climate change and extreme weather events. How do we make our homes and communities more disaster resilient? All around us, we're seeing action in various cities, the community of faith, schools, businesses, all working to increase sustainability and reduce carbon footprints. And no place has that been more evident than the leadership that we've seen at Portland Community College. Your past work is exemplary. And I appreciate your convening today's summit and obviously look forward to working with you on all the challenges that lie ahead.
Well, we've heard from many speakers today. Lacey Cagle, Linda Gerber, Michael Armstrong, Bill Bradbury, and we might have lost our clicker. And
It's just stuck on me.
And Earl Blumenauer. Due to time constraints, we may have to skip over these questions for Bill. They would be wonderful to discuss, and I encourage you to go to this PowerPoint and look at the links at the bottom of the screen. For example, how do we attack gasoline without switching alternative fuels? The answers are on the links here with the example of California. How do we, why is the largest increase in carbon dioxide emissions in Oregon coming from the freight sector? And how do we mitigate this increase? New standards of truck emissions from the federal government, and how can we keep CO2 emissions from going up when we are projected to get a huge population increase from climate refugees, and the work that the United Nations Climate Refugee Planning Council is doing to accommodate refugees around the world as a result of climate change. In conclusion, what we need is not only to stop exponential growth in the energy sector and win the war on carbon, but we need an exponential growth in people acting on climate solutions. So we need involve people who are talking, communicating, educating, and acting. We need the 7 billion people in the world to act together, and then we can achieve this change. What we need is you. We need to get you involved in climate change so that we can find that solution and make the world totally sustainable by 2100. So I ask you now, can we talk about solutions?
Yes, we can.
Can we communicate about solutions?
Yes, we can.
Can we educate about the solutions for climate change?
Yes, we can.
Can we act on the solutions and create a sustainable world?
Yes, we can.
The solution is talking, communicating, educating, and acting. So on behalf of Jeremy, myself, Jeremy and Lacey and Linda and Bill and Michael and Earl and all the members here at Portland Community College on our green team, I want to thank you for the time spent, and I want to challenge you to act and help make this earth sustainable. Remember, every day is Earth Day. Thank you.